It's time for Clubhouse Chatter. Here's Stormin' Norman.
Ordez.
Well, I could say Ordez as well, too.
That's right. Oh. Thank you, Brian. So welcome back to second show of the day. My second guest this morning is a legend. And he will not tell you he's a legend, but he is. He is a legend down in Mexico. And he managed, let me see if I can get this right, Yaquis de Obregon?
Exactly, Yaquis de Obregon.
And so he managed them to Caribbean World Series titles in 2011 and 2013. And I have with me Mr. Eddie Díaz. Mr. Diaz, how you doing today?
Thank you so much. I'm doing well. I'm just sitting at home and very happy to be on your show and ready to answer all the questions you have.
You know, we talked a little bit about the other day, you know, one of my bucket list items on my baseball bucket list is to attend a Caribbean World Series. It is so different. I mean, baseball is baseball wherever you go. But the atmosphere is so different than what it is here in America. And, well, let me have Mr. Diaz. Let me explain a little bit about the atmosphere in Caribbean baseball.
Well, when you grow up in baseball, especially, I'm born and raised in the Dominican Republic, you know, you always hear on the radio, it's in the 70s when my dad was listening to the Caribbean Series as well, me watching in TV late 70s and 80s, as well 90, you know, you figure, wow, you know, it would have been nice if I, as a player, would have been part of the Caribbean Series. But I always say that God delayed things, but he don't deny anything. And when Mexico gave me the opportunity to become a manager in 99, which was actually in the Summer League, and then later 2007, I became a manager for Mazatlan. I was pretty close to be, you know, to win the championship with Mazatlan. But then after I was not returned, I went to spend 6 years with Obregon. And when we win the championship, the first one that I went there, and I'm in Puerto Rico, I'm thinking, wow, it took a long time for me to know what is to be in uniform on the field in the Caribbean Series. And it was amazing. It's something that goes through your blood. It's something that we take with a pretty high pride when you're representing the country that you play with or manage with.
You know, it's so different. You know, when you watch the World Baseball Classic, you know, when you watch, it's odd really, because you watch the Dominicans play, you watch the Venezuelans play, you watch the Mexicans play, you know, the Cubans. There is so much passion. But then you watch the Americans and the Canadians, and it's a little bit different. Why is that?
Well, I still believe that USA is still both in talent, but passion-wise, especially the Caribbeans, you know, it's in your blood. It's something that you want to do with so much pride. I remember when Dominican Republic, they decide in themselves and they have a meeting and say, hey, you know what, this year we're going to win the WBC, and they did. And some of my friends told me after they finished their meeting, they basically was crying because they got embarrassed the last time they attended to. Mm-hmm. Well, it happened the same with us in Mexico. Before we went to Puerto Rico, and they gave me an interview, they asked me what's going to happen with Mexico because they consider what they call the ugly dog, el patito feo. So I said, well, I don't know what's going to happen when we get there from the 2nd to the 8th. But I guarantee you we're not going to travel 3,000 miles to lose. So it's a pride. It's a pride for you to represent your uniform, your country, and it's in your blood. I mean, you get excited saying, hey, you know what? We win the whole thing.
That's awesome. And like I said, you know, every year, you know, that first weekend of February, you know, I'm finding, you know, one of the Spanish speaking stations, you know, usually will have some of the Caribbean World Series games on it, or I watch it on the internet. And I don't watch every game, but I do follow, you know, some of the guys that I've worked with, you know, in minor league baseball, you know, Carlos Gonzalez of of Venezuela, and Wilkin Castillo and Emilio Bonifacio of the Dominican, and it's fun. It's just really a fun deal to watch. And give us, what was it like? How different was each of the championships?
Well, the championship was special to me, each one of them, but I think that the one that gives me the most gumps was actually the second one, because when you win one, it's like, well, I already got one. But when you win two, it's like, wow, I'm already win. I'm part of the history. Even though when you win the third one, I mean, I'm the only manager in the history in Mexico as well in the Caribbean Spanish-speaking to win 3 titles in a row, and the organization is Obregon as well, the only one in the winter to win 3 times in a row. But when you win the Caribbean Series, become huge, especially 2013, which in Hermosillo, Mexico, we played 18 innings against the Dominican Republic, which half of that team was the one that went to the WBC.
Right.
And that was huge. I mean, when you win in front of 23,000 people and another 10,000 outside, it's unbelievable. It gets to you. You never want to wake up, but you got to go back to reality, and say, you know what, it's part of my history. I'm very happy it happened to me. Especially, let me tell you, I was out of baseball for 14 years. I was out of the game for 14 years, and I came back as an agent. And I went to Mexico in '99 to play some players. And the owner of the Cafeteros of Córdoba in the summer, he asked me, when are you leaving back to the USA? I said, I'm leaving tomorrow. He says, well, I already got the managers to finish the season. And I say, who's that guy? He says, you. I said, but I never managed in my life. He says, I don't care. You remind me of Winston Janas when I appointed him as a manager. Winston Jana was a very well-known Dominican. He still is. I mean, he was the president of Águilas for a long time. And that's how my career started. But I didn't want to be a manager because I was an agent. But 6 years later, I was approached by well-known scout Rene Gallo, and he says, you know what, you should sell some of your businesses. Stop being an agent, stop owning that franchise of basketball team that you have with the IBL. What you need to do is be a manager full-time. And that's when everything started, 2007, and that's when my career took off.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. So you just got done doing a baseball clinic. I know my friend Peter Caliendo kind of led me to you, which is a great find. Honestly, I knew that Mexico had won the Caribbean World Series those years, but I had no idea that you were the Eddie Díaz of that. And so, this is really an honor. And, Mexico is a soccer state, but baseball is alive and well in Mexico, isn't it?
Yes, it is. In the north side, especially when you go to Sinaloa and Sonora, Baja California, all that areas, baseball is number one. Football becomes number two. And the clinic has to do not only to help out the kids to learn the game, but I do charities every year. I've been doing it since '99 because I appreciate what Mexico has done for me. And I started pretty heavily last year in Obregon. We raised almost $100,000. My family and I give away computers. I did some speeches for a company like Pepsi and Excel and the Rotary clubs, and part of the money goes to different charity with kids with cancer. So that's my passion. They even make a little movie about myself. So I'm always up to do what is best and saying to the Lord, thank you for what you give me.
Growing up, who was your inspiration?
My mother. My mother always was a fighter. I learned so much from her, and when you look up to a woman that always wants to elevate the best of your sons, because we had 3 brothers, and actually be the great wife that she was, my mother was my inspiration until today. She's watching me from the sky.
Nice. Now, growing up in the Dominican Republic, who were your favorite players? Who did you enjoy watching?
Well, back then, Pete Rose. Pete Rose, it was to me like, wow, this guy is from another planet. And, behind the play, as a catcher, was actually Gary Carter, rest in peace. I mean, how elegant he was behind the play with Pete Rose. Pete Rose, for me, was like the ultimate word in baseball. This guy, anybody that pay to go watch baseball and leaves that day happy and say, hey, you know what? This man was unbelievable.
Let me ask you a question. So, Pete Rose, in your mind, does he belong in the Hall of Fame? Has he served his time?
I think he served his time. It's been a long time.
It has been.
Well, even if he never gets in the Hall of Fame, he's a Hall of Fame. I mean,
absolutely.
When somebody, I had the chance to manage his son in Mexico, and we went over all the conversations. A lot of people make a lot of mistakes. You'll be surprised. You will be surprised one day when it come out the truth in years. The people that are not clean in the Hall of Fame.
They're there. Believe me. And you know it as well. And
yes,
they're there.
And they're not clean. People that used to point out the people, and they there. So, but it's not to me to judge. Time will tell. But Pete Rose, to me, was. I mean, he was like a raw batter in baseball. Unbelievable. It's like a managing. It's Sparky Anderson. It's my favorite all time. Because he's the guy who actually started showing how to use the bullpen.
Right. So managing in Mexico. So give us a name of a couple of players that haven't really necessarily hit the major leagues yet. They could be in the minor leagues, or they could still be in Mexico playing summer ball in Mexico. Give us a name of a couple of players who we should pay attention to.
Well, if you ask me, I'm going to be a little selfish. I'm going to tell you my players because I'm a scout for the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yep.
But, and I got 6 pretty interesting prospects that I signed. But if you really looked at right now, with the Dodgers, they have a left-handed pitcher, Diaz, from Culiacan, Sinaloa. I believe he's in the top 13 prospect in the Major League. And he's unbelievable. He's a left-hander, which is 90 and 93 in top 95 with a blazing breaking ball. And then you have arose a whole bunch of others, but that's number 1 right now. And in the system with Tampa, I got Armando Araiza, which is pretty good, solid defensively. And you have Oscar Armenta, who's a left-hander, Juan Rodriguez, and Dominican, Cordova. I just signed Edwin Fierro, right-hander from Campeche. But going back in the days, I'm going to tell you which player never wants to stay in the state for some personal reason, but I don't have no doubt he would have been one of the best hitters in the big league. Hector Espino.
Yep.
If you do some research on that man probably was the best hitter of that era. When I spoke with people like Winston Jenna, he says, Eddie, watching him back then is watching Albert Pujols in this era. Mexico is more well known by pitching. Pitchers takes a big pride of what they do. But it's a lot of talent to watch. It's a lot of guys are coming up in a very quiet way.
Now, Hector, there was a deal with him because Mike Hinman of the Toledo Mud Hens just broke the minor league record for home runs. And didn't Hector have that, or does he technically still have that? Because I know there's kind of an asterisk behind it.
He has a record until Nelson Barrera, a third baseman, broke it. I cannot recall the year, if there was 2001, 2002. He no longer has the record, but he has the record overall together, summer and winter. It's about 700-some thousand. But indeed, he was right. He holds a record for a long time until 2001, I believe it was. And Nelson Barrera passed him by 1 or 2 home runs.
So I'm going to give you a name of 2 of my favorite Mexican ball players, and the first one is Uribe Durazo.
Durazo's a good guy. Matter of fact, he's played for me because one year Hermosillo don't want to have him in the roster, and they lend him to us. And he played for me in Obregon, and he's a good friend. And I always appreciate what he says one day in the news. He says that I should get the opportunity one day to manage in the state because he believes I can manage in the big league one day. He's a great guy. He was a good hitter.
He was a good hitter. Played with the Diamondbacks for quite a while. You know, he had some good years with the Diamondbacks, and he tore the cover off the ball at the minor league level, though.
Yes, he did.
And then the second one is my second guy is I don't know. Okay, so my pronunciation is I'm going to probably butcher it, but he's a gentleman who played with the Astros in the Astros organization for a short time. I don't think he's with them anymore, but this man is 6'4" and goes about 300 pounds. And he was, last time I checked, he was with the Mexico City Red Devils, and that was Jafet Amador. Did I get that right?
Jafet Amador, he's a great kid. I also managed him when I managed Diablos in 2012 in the summer. And I saw that kid the first time actually in 2008. Yeah, 2008. He was playing in what they call Veracruzana League. It's another winter league, lower than the one that we play. Mm-hmm. And he was very impressive. You know, the first time he actually was signed was by Boston, but he did not pass the physical. I'll tell you what, he hit. He's probably one of those kids that don't have that huge aspiration to stick around and stay, even if I don't, you know, he told me a few times that he wants to play in the big league. But he can hit. And let me tell you, a few years ago, before he got a few injury in his foot, he can move pretty quick around first base.
Yes. I remember I watched, and I don't know how I came across it. It was a couple of years ago. I came across Mexico City. I believe, didn't they play like an exhibition here in the States?
Yeah, we play in Texas. As a matter of fact, I was a manager. Well, the last time, Ojeda was the manager when they played in Texas. But the year before, the first time we played against Texas, I was the guy managing there in 2012.
And that's where I think I came across him, because I remember seeing this big man playing first base. But, you know, you looked at him and you're like, what the heck? But watching him swing a bat, and, I mean, he hit a home run that, I mean, he crushed it. It at least, you know, 450 feet at least.
Yeah,
but
he's
like
powerful.
you said, he could move, you know.
Yeah,
And man, I wish that he would get a better opportunity, and you know, for people to see, you know, Uribe Durazo. I think Uribe Durazo, you know, in my mind, didn't get a fair shake. You know, he just, for some odd reason, he just could not catch on here in the States for very long. But I mean, that he can hit. Yeah,
Uribe is a very smart young man. He's a businessman right now. He played about 7-8 years in the big league. I believe he hit 320 1 year with Oakland. He got a ring from the World Series. He owns a long range of land in Hermosillo and some spot in Mexico. But he's very smart. He takes care of his money very well. And he's doing well. And the next time I see him, I'll make sure that you say nice things about him.
Oh, tell him he's got a huge fan. In fact, my favorite, you know, for a long time, my favorite ball players were all Latinos, you know. Vladimir Guerrero, Uribe Durazo. I grew up in Idaho, so I grew up a Dale Murphy fan.
Yes.
But, you know, I enjoyed watching the Manny Trios of the world and, you know, the Julio Francos. And, you know, there's just some great ball being played, not only in the Dominican Republic, but Puerto Rico, Venezuela. You know, you got Cuba is now back in the Caribbean World Series, which is really exciting. I think watching Cuba is a blast. Man, those guys can hit the ball, and you know, it's exciting. And if you guys don't, my listeners out there don't have the opportunity, you know, check it out. Check out the Caribbean World Series. It's usually the first weekend of February. You know, you could find it online. The venues change. They go from, you know, country to country. So last year, where were they at last year? They were in Venezuela last year, correct?
Yeah, this past one was in Venezuela.
So now they go back to the Dominican, I believe.
They go to Puerto Rico now, and then Dominican, and then it goes to Mexico. And something pretty good happened to us, and I say us in Mexico because I'm pretty much there. Even my home is Waterloo, Iowa. The last 4 Caribbean series, we win 3. I mean, when Mexico was considered no chance. Right now, Mexico is not even in last place. I mean, Venezuela is in last place right now. And but it's baseball. Baseball is a wonderful, beautiful sport that when you look all the way around, it gives you the opportunity not only to become a good thinker, but at the same time understand how to balance baseball with life. It's something that I always tell young players. It's the only sport in the world that teach you how to have the ball when you're on defense. You know, if you think about it, you have a player on the bench that don't play the whole entire game. Maybe he hasn't played in 3-4 days in a row, and he has a bases loaded and still got to come and perform for one at bat. So the game of baseball has become more popular, and hopefully we teach them the right way and players get it the right way.
Absolutely. Once again, with me is Mr. Eddie Díaz, and Mr. Diaz, I appreciate you coming on the show with us today, and definitely would love to have you back on again soon. And once again, thank you very much.
Thank you, and it's just my pleasure. And anything you need from me, and you know, you've been so echoed so many good things in the game. Don't hesitate to give me a call, and thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. Once again, from Waterloo, Iowa, baseball legend, Mr. Eddie Díaz. Mr. Díaz, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Wow. So, you know, Brian, you know, one of the things I love about doing this, and I could do this without ever become rich. You know, I mean, I do this because I love the game of baseball. That is one of the reasons why. You know, because you're able to talk to a legend like that.
Eddie Díaz, I mean, great guy, and I'll be honest, I probably have never heard of him before.
Yeah, exactly.
And the guy knows baseball, and that's what ties most of your guests together is baseball. And to be honest with you, one of the best stories that I've ever heard is him telling stories about guys who he's managed. I mean, you can tell he cares about them. Great guy, great baseball mind. Been very successful, 3 titles. That's why you do it, and that's why we do it, I think.
Absolutely. That is why we do it. So I'm Norm. This is producer Brian. Would like to plug my sponsors one more time. MDM Designs, Mark Canham over there in Lebanon. His son, Mitch Canham, catcher for the AA Harrisburg Senators, with basebypros.com, baseballdudes.com. Chris Gazelle up there in Vancouver, Washington. He is the pitching coach for the Orem Owls, by the way. Yamhilltoday.com. Check us out. We stream live every Thursday when we've got shows. We are a part of the 9-inning know-it-all crew. As Josh Randolph puts it, we are an empire. And Proper Cuts Barbershop, Carlos and the boys, is where I get my haircut. Go down and tell Carlos you heard us on Clubhouse Chatter. He might give you $1 or $2 off. Then again, he might charge you a couple extra bucks. So once again, thank you for baseballisms.com. Go to their website on checkout. Enter the code Clubhouse Chatter for 15% off on your order. So this is Norm. That's producer Brian. We've got Eve sitting in the studio today. So we will be back with Jackie James of GirlyLockerRoom.com coming up in the next show. Thank you for listening.